Hello everyone, in this video I'll be explaining about debugging a Java application based on a practical example. So what we'll be doing in this video is we will be explaining the application on which we will be doing the video, and then there is a bug in the video. We need to find the bug by debugging it, and then I will give an example of debugging a REST endpoint, or rather a Spring Boot REST endpoint, and figuring out what exactly that endpoint is doing. Okay, so let's get started on this. So the first one is overview of the application. So this is a shopping cart application, and what we have over here is that like we have a inventory of products, and then from those products we will be placing an order. Say for example, a customer is having two products in the order, so the customer will have like put in the select the product, then the quantities, and then they will try to place the order. So at that time we are capturing some data from the product from for the customer, and the data related to the product they are ordering. But before that, yes, and then we are placing an order using this place order endpoint. So this is the functionality behind that. And then we have an endpoint which says get all products, so it will return all the products which we have in the inventory. So let's call this API get all products, and then let's see how many products we show up. It shows up. Oh, it's giving internal server error. Let's go back. What happened? Mm, okay, we got a null pointer exception at get all products in shopping cart controller. So you can see this line is highlighted. So this is the application level line, and the lines below, these are jar specific line classes. So we don't have any hold on this, but we have a hold on this. So I'll just simply copy this and do Control Shift N, and I'll hit enter. So it will directly take me to that line. You can see line number 43, or even we can directly click on this. It will take us to the line number 43. So it says at line number 43 we are having a null pointer exception. So let me go and see what's there in line number 43. So in line number 43 we are retrieving the products, and this is doing a get all products. So it doesn't have any parameters. So we we can't get any exception. Let's get inside this and see what's happening. So it is doing a product repository dot find all. So there are two things which can go null. First one being product repository, and the second one being product service. So let's put a debug point over here, and again run the API, run the endpoint with this debug point. I'll clean the logs, and then I'll start. So debug point, what the execution is on the execution is here, and here we can see product service is null. Oh, so why it is null? And let's see. So this is the product service which we have in this controller. We are not doing auto wire using auto wire annotation. We are doing a constructor injection. So here we have intentionally added it as null. So if I stop the application and revert that, then start it again, we can use DevTools that will automatically restart the application if there is any change, but that is not a concern for me. Like that can be added later as part of a project. So the application started, and I think we have fixed the bug. So this was hard coded to null, and now it will be injected this product service and this product service object. So I think at this point we will be getting the product list. So let's make sure that by doing another debug and then checking it. Let the application start. can see we have these many endpoints. So the application is started. So now let me go and hit it again. Yeah, it did came up here. And now, all right, so we have something in the product service. Previously it was null. So if I now press F8 or step over, then it should come to this point. Just pulling the data from the database. Yes. And let's hover on the product list. So this is an array list and we have 3 products: laptop, mobile, smartphone, with the quantities and the price. So alright, so let me manipulate one data over here. So ID is 3, available quantity is 6. So let me add this as say 100 and then hit enter. So now the smartwatch is having quantity 100. So let me do another. At this point, if I do an F8, it will go to the internal library classes just like this. We don't need that. So directly at this point, I'll press F9 and it will come out of the execution. So now let me go to the UI. So you can see the quantity is 100, which was not the correct quantity. Now let's skip the debug points and clear the logs and run this application again. So the correct quantity is 6. So we looked into two things. First of all, the alteration of data at runtime. Second, fixed a bug of null pointer using debugging. So now let's place an order. So I have this place order API call, which is having order description as order placed with PO this. Then we have a cart item list, which is having 2 objects. One is the product ID, quantity, second product ID and quantity. Then we have customer email and customer name. Usually we should have an identifier which will identify customer in the system, and it should be visible for the end user as well, so that we can modify it later. So now let me put a debug point in place order API. So let me go to the controller. We have place order API. I already have a debug point there. So line number 63, we have a debug point. Okay, let me start this then. So I have started that. So at this point, we have this order DTO object, which is having the payload like order description, cart items. It was an array list, and each item is having product ID and quantity. So this is the minimum data we need from the customers. The rest of them we can retrieve. The customer name and email. Now let's go line by line. So if I press F8, it will go to the next line. Got it? And then again, if I press it F8, it will go to the next line. At this point here, we have 2 methods: get cart items and get cart amount. So if I press step into like F7, then it will first go to the cart items method, and then let's go there. So see, it has returned the cart items, and then now I need to press F8. So I want to get out of this method, so I'll press F8, and then now if I press F7 here, it will get inside cart amount, and if I press F8, it would execute this method internally and come out at line number 66. So let me press F7. Done. It is going inside this cart amount class method, and here at this point I'll be pressing F8. F8 is basically line by line execution, irrespective of there is a method or just a declaration or an initialization or assigning of values. So done, done, done. Now we have a loop. Now if I press F8, it is going inside it, and then shopping cart list. Let's over what data is there. There are 2 objects, and each object is having product ID and product and quantity. No amount is there. So we got the product ID. Then from that product ID, we are pulling the data, like whether the product is present or not. If it's present, then I'm getting the product object, and then I'm checking available quantity. If available quantity is less than cart quantity, then whatever the available quantity is there, we are giving that to the customer. We are selling that to the customer. Then I set the quantity of the available quantity in the cart object. And then if the quantity is more than required, then like whatever the cart quantity is, then that is multiplied by the product amount, and then we have the single cart amount. So let's go through this one by one. So here we have the product. So I got the product object from the database. So from the ID we got the name, available quantity, and price of the product, and then checking if product is present or not. So at this point, let's evaluate this expression. I'll copy this and click on evaluate expression. It automatically took it. If I click on enter, it says true, so it will go inside this loop, sorry, if condition. So it get inside that, and then again let's take this one as well. At times it becomes complex, so we can do something like this. So it says false, so the quantity is inabundant for us to work with. So I'll put in F8. It will go inside the else block, since it came false, and then it will calculate the single cart amount. Then available quantity for that product will be updated. So total cart amount is also updated, and and we are setting the available quantity. Let's get inside available quantity method, setter method. So okay, so we are here, and the available quantity is 5. Actually, yes, so the available quantity came in is 3, and the existing one was 5. So automatically we will adjust it, and then let's get out of it. Now going inside, now going line by line to set the product repository in here. So once I'm here, there are two things I can do. Either loop through the next cart object and do the same thing, or we can come out of the loop. There are two ways we can do it. One, uh, either stepping out, and second, we can put a debug point here and press F9. F9 is like going from one point to the other, from one debug point to the other. Say for example, at this point the execution is there and we don't have a debug point. That doesn't matter, but execution is on hold over here, and we want to either move out of the execution or move to another debug point. So in that case we can press F9, and it will do the second iteration and then come out of the loop, like move to the next debug point, and then I can check the total amount is coming out to be 1,09,794. So at this point we want to move out of the method as well. So I'll click step out, so I'm outside of the method, and then I'll click on F8. So the final amount is this amount which we got. So now we're doing basic processing, like getting the customer object and then verifying the customer exists in the database or not. Then from there, if it's not there, then we save the customer. Then we are to save the object. So I need the description, customer, and the cart items. So once this is done, we saved the order, and now if I hover on the order object, so it is having ID, description, customer, and cart items. So these many cart items were placed in this particular order: product ID, name, quantity, and amount, and product ID, name, and quantity and amount. So now I'm done. Now I need to return the response to the end user or the calling application. So I set the amount, the date, invoice number, order ID, description, and then I'm out of this. So here also, if I go on pressing F8, then I'll get into the library classes of the Spring Boot. So without bothering into that, we can simply press F9 and we will be out of it. So we are out of it now. You can see the logs are got printed, test push and all that. So now if I go back to the UI, you can see this is the order amount, invoice number, date, we can format that, and the description. Okay, so this was an example of a debugging a Spring Boot REST endpoint. So here also we looked into like some service layers and other DTO layers and all that. So we can find out, or actually see, we didn't put in lots of debug points. Like at times what happens is that people put in so many debug points, so that's why it gets messed up, or it's difficult to understand an application. And here you can see there is a cross, which means that this point is not executable. Okay, so if I remove this, it's clear now. So this is a practical example of how we debug and debug an application in production. Even like in a production based application, this is the approach the developers should follow. Okay, so let's go back and there let's see what we have. Nothing else. Anyways, so if you have any questions, then do come up with that in the chat and I'll reply with that. Okay, thank you.